Hello, 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 all of you beautiful nerds from around the world, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on the replay. I do apologize for the delay for those of you that were trying to hang out and come check out the stream here at midnight. This is, of course, our spoiler-filled reaction and review of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, I do apologize again. You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can't make this stuff up. The hotel internet went out literally as I was about to do this stream. So let me know how this sounds. Let me know how this looks. I'm not sure because we're running on Das Hotel internet. And yeah. This is gonna be really exciting. So also, if you guys could do me a favor, and I'm gonna need some of my mods to help me out and share this on Twitter. In fact, I'm going to try to get to that right now. And we'll wait for everybody to get in here a little bit. And before I, get into my thoughts and everything about the movie, I want to wait just a split second here. But let me know in chat, and I see a lot of you are already doing this, but please let me know, how did you feel about The Rise of Skywalker? Or perhaps The Rise of Palpatine maybe is a more apt name, as people were sort of memeing on the internet. But yeah, let me know what you think. I've got a lot to say, and I'll say this right from the top. This has been the weirdest lead up to a big blockbuster movie like this that I've ever experienced. And in the year of our Lord and Savior 2019, I got to experience two lead-ups to two massive end cap films, two huge ceremonial movies, both which were really good for the channel and pop culture, and we've been talking a lot about them. But it's completely different when it comes to Endgame and when it comes to Star Wars. And that's one of the things. That's one of the things, man. When you talk about this movie and when you talk about the state of Star Wars right now, you can't separate it from what's going on with the fandom and what's just this crazy ride. It's been absurd. And I'm just curious if people agree or not. So let me get this up on the tweeter, and then we're going to get into this, baby, I tell you. Whew. Woo! And I was going to say, too, to people, hide your kids, hide your wives. Look, I can't promise you how this stream is going to go as far as DOS swear words and things like that, okay? Because I got a lot to say. Because really, man, do you guys know? Do you guys want to know what I think? Here's the thing. When I went into this movie, I had a worst case scenario. And the thing that's really weird about this for me, of course, is that we've been talking about the leaks and the end of this film for months now. We knew that these leaks were real months ago. Now, I know there's some debate in here, and I know there'll be people that come in here and say, oh, I didn't know about the leaks. How did this happen with the leaks? And we've got a lot to talk about, because we got to talk about the leaks. I think, honestly, you can't not talk about the leaks. You can't not talk about the run-up to this film. But I'll just say this right off the bat. Right off the bat, guys. I'm going to keep it 100% with you, okay? I'm going to keep it 100% real with you. Those critics, the critics and the scores that this movie is getting are completely undeserved. Completely undeserved. Basically, and I don't necessarily want to speak for the critics. Obviously, I can't speak for the critics. I don't know what's going on inside these critics' head. But I'm just going to keep it 100 with you guys. And it's nothing personal, but fuck them critics. Honestly. Fuck them critics. Fuck them. I actually thought, going into this movie, with some of the things that I was hearing and stuff, I thought I was going to have to make apologies to people. Because, what really happened with these reviews for this movie is it came out, and the first social media scores, like when people were talking about it on social media, they were pretty positive, right? They were pretty positive. Like, there was definitely people in there. There was this hint, there was this twinge of, if you like The Last Jedi, you're going to hate this movie. Trust me, we're going to get into that. Baby, are we going to get into that? But there was this twinge of, positivity out there when the social media things hit. And then when the actual reviews came out, it painted this completely different picture. And you have to wonder, like, what was going on in people's heads? What was going on? And I truly believe that really what happened at the end of the day is that you've got a lot of critics and possibly a lot of Star Wars fans that were really big fans of Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, and they were really big fans of what they thought that movie was doing to Star Wars. And honestly, they view Rise, in my opinion, as this like fanboy fan service movie, and really what it ultimately comes down to is they feel like they lost some bullshit Twitter war, and they feel like Lucasfilm bent the knee to all of these angry fans and like ruined their thing with Star Wars. Now, and that's not everybody, because I've seen a lot of reviews. I couldn't help it. The thing about this film is I watched a bajillion reviews about this movie. I've watched a lot of people talk about it, and I can tell that it's going to be a film that really needs to gestate, and we're all going to need to think about it a lot. But I'll tell you this, man, like, honestly, I'm watching this movie the whole time. I'm like, it's like walking on eggshells. It's like walking on eggshells, and I'm like, is this going to be the moment where they lose me? Is this going to be the moment that sucks? That you know, I'm trying to like make sense of the reviews. I'm trying not to get too excited. I'm watching this thing like I'm on fucking eggshells, and literally it gets to the end of the film, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of still with this movie. I don't really think it's done anything egregious. I don't think it's done any of the things that the critics are talking about. And is this some of us, maybe, at least for me, taking the critics' reviews a little bit too seriously and like caring a little bit too much about what these people think in some ways? Because, like, you know, I heard here, let's just go through the list. Let's go through the list of things that we heard from critics going into this movie. The amount of fan service in this movie is egregious, and it's just fan service, like shoved down your throat. I heard that. And I was looking for it. I was like, okay, well, where's the grotesque fan service? Where's the egregious fan service? Where is it? I didn't fucking see it. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Like, if you're saying that literally bringing Palpatine back in any way, shape, or form is fan service, that's so ridiculous to me. Like, that seems ridiculous to me. Now, I will say this. There's actually a lot of things that you could talk about that are negative about this film. There were things in this film that didn't work for me. And I will say this, too. The idea of this being the end of the Skywalker saga, or like the idea of this being a ending to these 9 films, Lucasfilm should have literally never said that shit. That is stupid. By the way, it didn't even work, and I don't want to be negative here. We're gonna have to. How did these leaks happen? I'll explain. We'll go through it all. Look, either way, folks, this stream right now is literally gonna be like therapy. Like, we're gonna talk about this. I got a lot of shit to say because honestly, in a lot of ways, Star Wars fans are not just hurting this movie, but hurting everything. Like, it's literally gotten to a ridiculous place, and like, I'm gonna freak out about some things, but we all, like, you can get your questions in on this too. We'll pop it into Q&A. I don't know how long we'll go here. I really don't. I don't know how long we'll go here, but I do want to get into Q&A, and I want to talk to all of you guys about it. Like, I really do. But yeah, like, I'm sitting there looking for this or egregious fan service, and I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Like, I honestly, you know, I watched a review. I watched Collider Live, and a lot of the people there were talking about it, and it was really interesting to get their takes and everything like that. And there was this really interesting thing that Roxy Schreier said, where she's like, I just can't. I'm unable to get in the headspace of people that hated this movie, and like, if you're like a really like whitey-twitey critic, you know, like I've seen people talking about like they're offended by this movie. They're offended by this movie. To me, like that's as laughable as people that said that like The Last Jedi offended them. Now look, you can not like The Last Jedi. And I think that in a lot of ways, a lot of the things that happened in The Last Jedi should not have happened. Like bottom line, Disney should not have let that man make that movie, period. But they did. And it's like, really at this point I'm like, are we adults or not? Like, are we adults or not? Are we going to be able to be adults about watching our Space Wizard movies is what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. And I got a lot of lack of faith in the internet's ability to be fucking adults about our Space Wizard movie. I really do at this point. I really do. Because really, I think that the thing that this movie is going to do is it's going to literally have the worst side of the fandom rear its head again, because now you're going to have all these people come out and talk about, like, literally they're going to sound just like the Last Jedi people. You know the people I'm talking about. The people that screamed and overreacted and monetized and focused on the negativity towards the Last Jedi. That's going to happen again with episode 9. And I promise you there's going to be people that, like, I just can't believe it. It's like they're literally the same. It's the same freaking people over here. It's like, you took my toys away and you gave the toys to the fanboys. Ah! Like, that's literally what I think is going to happen. And it's like laughable to me, because the bottom line here really is there's a whole bunch of reasonable fucking people in the middle of this thing that just, maybe The Last Jedi's not amazing and it did some really weird Star Wars shit for us, but we're like, hey man, it's still Star Wars. I never thought I was getting these movies. I more or less am happy that we are getting these movies. And even though that movie did not do it for me, I'm not going to cry about it. You know what I mean? And a whole bunch of those reasonable people that felt that way about The Last Jedi, I promise you, they don't give a shit that this movie flies in the face of The Last Jedi. I promise you, there's a huge group of people that are like, oh, so this is the story now. It's not even like, oh, this is what my side, your side. No, it's like there's a bunch of reasonable people that liked The Last Jedi or didn't hate it to the point of, you know, whatever this is that we're in now. And those people are probably going to view The Rise of Skywalker and be like, hey, man, this is kind of cool. This is not terrible. Now, I will say this. There's some negativity that I do have towards this film. And like I said, the idea of Disney saying this is the end of the Skywalker saga, like, honestly, as a fan base, I think we all just need to collectively eye roll at that and be like, whatever, Disney. Because if anything, this movie clearly shows that the fans are in the driver's seat when it comes to what Disney is going to do with Star Wars in the future. Like, it couldn't be more of an apology letter to the things that they did wrong in that movie. And I almost want to say, like, I'm having a lot of thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm having a lot of thoughts. I'm going to need to think a lot about this movie. I can't wait to see it again, because like I just told you guys, I'm literally watching this movie on eggshells, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm like, okay, when's it going to get terrible? When's it going to get terrible? That's no way to watch a movie. That's no way to enjoy a Star Wars. And yet I still walked away enjoying it. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked it, you know, even more. So I can't wait to see it again. But I think no matter what I feel about this movie and whatever score I end up eventually giving it after I've seen it more, this trilogy this doesn't work as a trilogy. And I think that the legacy of this sequel trilogy and what Disney has done is going to be marred with a lot of criticism, a lot of negativity. And is a lot of it like overblown? Yes. And that's like its whole thing. But at the end of the day, like, I think we could all just say that, yeah, I do think these films need to be better. I think these movies need to be better. Whatever they do next with Star Wars needs to be better. And, you know, like when it comes to Kathy and her saying things like, we need to go away from the trilogy format because the trilogy format's too restrictive. It's like, dude, no, it's not. You just made a terrible trilogy in the way of that you should do a trilogy. Because, like, frankly, it doesn't work as a trilogy, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work as a trilogy. I don't even know if it works Force Awakens, then Rise. You know what I mean? I'm actually looking forward to doing that back to back. But it sure as hell doesn't work as a trilogy. So, like, don't get it twisted. Lucasfilm isn't off the hook. Disney's not off the hook. We as Star Wars fans deserve much better. But there's a way to say that and be nuanced about it and talk about it without being like, the sky is falling, fire and brimstone to Lucasfilm. Every journalist, every person out there that interviews these people, they owe it to the fans to grill these people. You know what I mean? I see these like attitudes where it's like, dude, no, they don't. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. The place we have gotten. And by the way, I need my wrenches to do me a favor. I need you to occasionally let it be known in chat that this is a rated R stream. And I also need all of you people that are watching this stream right now to smash like with your force powers. But seriously, if the wrenches could let people know as they're coming in that this is not a for kids stream, because I know Star Wars is for kids. This fucking stream is not. This is for all the childish internet motherfuckers that are out there in the Star Wars community right now. This is what this is about. We need to talk about this. So, there are things in this movie that just don't even work within the movie for sure. But overall, my biggest problem with it is that it doesn't really function. The sequel trilogy doesn't function as a trilogy. Having said that, I do believe that JJ literally probably did the best job that he could. The best job that he could, given with where they were at after The Last Jedi, right? And, you know, look, Al and I, a lot of the people, we've been talking a lot about this over the past couple of weeks and the past couple of months, where it's like, geez, man, like this whole experience has been not that great. And either way, I really do think that a lot of things need to change at Lucasfilm. And whatever happens next is really important for Star Wars. And the sequel trilogy just is what it is. You know what I mean? This movie is not anywhere near as bad as people are saying it. Like, not at all. And I think it's a really enjoyable Star Wars movie. In fact, I think it probably ends this trilogy in maybe as best a way as it could. You know what I mean? Like honestly, I think the ending's pretty cool. You know, other than the Rey Skywalker thing on Tatooine, I'm still not a big fan of that. I want to see how it overall hits me. But my thing is this. I don't even think it really matters at the end of the day. I doubt, like, there's a lot of people disagree with me here, but I doubt Lucasfilm and Disney are going to be going back to these characters, like, anytime soon. Like, it's long ways away with that. So it doesn't necessarily even matter that Rey takes the name Skywalker. To me, it's just like a weird footnote on the movie. I know maybe they thought that was going to make a big impact or whatever, but like, yeah, that was not that great. But yeah, like, that's kind of where I'm at with it, guys. And, you know, I apologize that, I don't know, man. I don't know. The whole thing with the fans, the whole things with the situation, Star Wars is like exhausting at this point. And I almost have more to say about the fandom and what has happened leading up to this than I actually do about the movie. But overall, I like the film. I wasn't like wowed by it. Like it didn't honestly give me all the feels that I wanted. And like I said, like it's totally fair to say, like, when you compare the run up to Endgame to the run up to this, it's just not even comparable. And things need to change. Like, things need to change. I'm curious to see how the film and its reception is going to be taken by other fans. You know what I mean? The fans that have the problems and everything like that. I'm really interested in that. Okay, so how about this? Let's shift a little bit here. Let's shift because I'm going to do a lot of videos tomorrow. I have the whole day just to do videos. And, I'm going to explain the ending. I'm going to explain the possible changes to canon. There's a lot to talk about from that. But let's get into Q&A a little bit. I think I've said all I've got to say here about the critics and everything. Like, I really, like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, when I hear these critics talk, man, some of these critics, and this offends me. This offends you? I'm so smart as a fan, and I want so much more that this movie offends me. Whatever. Okay. So let's go through some super chats, and this one I just want to do because it's the first one that popped up for me right here. Joe says Star Wars fan since it says 977. I assume you mean 1977, brother. In seeing episode 4 to 6 with my father, this is not a Lucasfilm. I am okay with that. However, this film works for me as a solution we would have never got. Thank you, Disney. 5 out of 5. Yeah, Joe, it's interesting, man. Like the thing I find so fascinating is that the movie couldn't be more of an apology letter for The Last Jedi. And I had this thought getting out of the theater that I almost feel like JJ torched the trilogy. Like it's almost like they sacrificed the trilogy to save canon. In a lot of ways. Like some of the changes that they did, some of the little things they did in this movie that maybe retracted from the quality of the film, were necessary to fix canon. And like I feel like we will be talking about this movie a lot. I don't know if it's going to quite get to Last Jedi levels, but there's a lot to sort of unpack in this. Let's see here. Moose Wizard said, thanks for Super Chat, bro. He said, fuck them indeed. Loved it. Babu Frick had me laughing. Dude, Babu Frick is a fantastic character. That little character, fantastic. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, just because I want to let's bring the mood up just a little bit, because I'm sorry, I got so angry. Let's bring the mood up just a little bit. Check this out. My buddy had a brilliant thing that should have happened in the film. And it's kind of like ridiculous and kind of corny, but I thought it was pretty funny. When Kylo's saying like the next time I offer my hand, you'll take it or whatever, there should have been this moment in the movie where Rey cuts off Kylo's hand and is all like, oh, I guess I did take your hand. You know what I mean? Something like that. I don't know. It was better when he told it to me at the bar. Sorry, Austin. Let's see here. Christopher Dumont says, one thing is really irritating me are those people saying that Rey is crazy overpowered but haven't been upset that Baby Yoda is nuts. Yeah, look, obviously Rey is incredibly powerful. This whole trilogy has these two characters, Kylo and her, that are both really, really strong with the Force. Now, I don't have a problem with that. Now, some people say that like the Mary Sue is like super strong with her in this film. And I would say that like, depending on your definition, like that's true because there's some things that she does that are like, oh, it's like that. You know what I mean? But it never breaks its own rules. Like I never want to throw my arms up. You know what I mean? Like my buddy, it was really interesting. I was in a really good theater watching it. And the scene where she grabs the ship, you know what I mean? That scene to me felt totally okay. But I think to some people they were like, what? And like, it's like really like laughable or like kind of funny or whatever. I just see it as these are two very, very like almost godlike figures. And I think that the thing about the dyad is really cool. The one thing about this film is, dude, you don't get enough time to spend with almost any of these cool things. I really do wish that there was like a half hour more. And we know from the leaks, by the way, that there was stuff cut out of the film, that like they dropped a lot of stuff off from the leaks. So I don't know, maybe some kind of an extended version or something, or at least seeing those scenes later. But yeah, man, like, yeah, it's the thing with Rey and Baby Yoda is a really good point. And I think at the end of the day, people just don't like the Rey character, which, look, it is what it is. Like, I don't love that character. I like that character. I liked her a lot in this movie. I feel like they went a long way to really put, and I love the Palpatine shit. You know what I mean? It's so funny because we're like retreading conversations we had months ago, but it's like months ago I was like, guys, I really like Rey Palpatine. Like, I really like Rey Palpatine. Like, I really, really like the Rey Palpatine idea. I think it's awesome. The Force lightning was great. And honestly, like, you know, I honestly wish we had a little bit more. I wish we had a little bit more. I wanted more time. You know, a lot of my buddies and stuff, when we got out of the film, we were saying that this really makes you wish that JJ had done all 3 movies. And I really do wish that. Like, I really do wish. Now, there would have been a lot of criticisms if JJ had done that, because all the criticisms would have been like, oh, it's pretty safe, Star Wars. Oh, it's this and that and all that. Even though I don't think JJ is getting enough credit for being as bold as he is in this film, because I do think this movie has some bold choices. Like, I saw like Jeremy Johns be like, there's nothing bold about this movie. Like, dude, nah, you're just fucking wrong, dude. You're just wrong. Like, it is bold. In fact, it's so bold that it's probably going to force some people, like, it's just not going to land with everybody. But I'm sorry, like, how can you say that the way they do that ending and the way they do this film isn't bold? Like, it's bold. Is it a little paint by numbers? Absolutely. And parts of it do feel like honestly, it gets so kind of scavenger hunty at one point that you're like, at least in my brain, I got scrambled where I was like, did they do all this shit already or not? Like, didn't they already do this? You know what I mean? And then like they find the way to Exegol or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting thing when it comes to Rey and everything. I think at the bottom line, man, people that were ready to hate this movie, like, they were ready to hate this movie, and maybe they said to people like, hey, I'm going to give it a fair shake. I'm going to go with my open mind or whatever. But like, they just didn't. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's the way I read it. Like, they just didn't. When I look at these reviews and how vehemently angry and, like, fired up people are, I'm like, I'm sorry. There's no way you get there with this movie. This movie's designed, if anything, to be like a Xanax. If anything, the correct reaction is, I wasn't upset. You know, maybe I didn't have a lot of joy, but I wasn't upset. At the most, that would be an accurate sort of way that it would go, in my opinion, from a reviewer standpoint. All these people that are so angry about it, like, dude, you were just angry about the sequel trilogy in general. You're just angry about new Star Wars in general. And I'm not necessarily saying you don't have the right or a reason to be, but you're bringing that into the theater for you with Rise, because Rise ain't that bad, dude. It really ain't that bad. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just not that bad. But let's get into some more super chats, guys. Let's really dive into Q&A. I'm gonna look at the chat a little bit more. I haven't been looking at the chat as much. We'll look at the chat. I want to get into conversations. I'll go for at least a half more hour. But we did start late, and I've got a lot of videos to do tomorrow. But I thought I really wanted to talk to you guys about this. Greg Stella says thank you with the super chat. It started out a little clunky, but people could stand to suspend their cynicism and watch it the way they watched the originals. Totally, man. Like I said, all the negativity that this film is facing is really weird because it dilutes from the problem. Like, to me, it's like this is a stupid thing to get mad about because we just look so damn ridiculous as a fan base. We just look so damn ridiculous that we're really gonna torch and get super upset about this movie. That's an obvious love letter to fans, an obvious love letter to the original fans. Anyway, Brett Luke Field says, absolutely love The Rise of Skywalker. Good for you, brother. Ian Bush, I can't read your super chat, bro, because this is stupid. Let's see if I can get here. The movie needed an extra hour to breathe. Can you talk about Rey's new lightsaber? Was that from her staff? Do you think we'll see more of it? Yeah, so I'll touch on the lightsaber. First of all, lightsaber is really cool. Love the switch at the top. I thought it was really cool. I think the film could have benefited from more space all over, like literally all over. There's moments all over this movie that could have used more space, particularly the end on Tatooine. I feel as though if Rey was there and we see her taking care of the homestead a little bit, maybe building her lightsaber down there, you know, all these different things like that, that scene could have used a lot more space. Like, where did she even get that lightsaber from? It's a weird scene. Some of my buddies loved it though, because like the yellow saber like kind of implies this thing in the old canon and it's essentially kind of gray ordery. It's really kind of like in the middle, between aggressions and things like that. I believe that like the Sentinels from Old Republic and stuff. So I definitely could have used more space in that part to make that make sense. I didn't hate all that stuff on Tatooine. I think in some ways it makes sense. The movie goes a long way to try to make you buy it. But again, I think it's collective eye roll when Disney says this ends all 9 movies. Like, no, it doesn't. Like, Anakin's not even in the movie. Look at this. I brought my Anakin Darkside hot toy with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, this man better be in that movie. And he's not. And honestly, even the voice of him, the way they did it, like, not that cool. Now, that scene's cool, and it works for me in the film. But, like, dude, it ain't that. I'm sorry. It's not the end of the Skywalkers. It's a fine ending to this trilogy. But honestly, it's like one of those things where it's like, dude, shut up, Disney. Like, we know what you're doing. That was a boneheaded thing, in my opinion, to call it the end of the Skywalker saga. Whatever. But yeah. Let's see here. PPZZZ says, I followed all the leaks. Played out much better than reported. Inevitable big movies will leak or spoiled. Almost seems like they hope leaked spoilers will bring certain crowd in, i.e. Raylos. Yeah. Look, the leaks for me, and look, the whole thing, this is a whole nother thing. We're going to do a whole video. I'll probably do several videos about this, and honestly, we'll do a live stream where we all talk about this, and maybe I'll have Jason Ward on. And we'll talk about this because this whole thing with the leaks has been ridiculous. I also have this theory that a lot of the critics went and read the leaks and were like, there's no way. This is Reddit fan fiction. There's no way it's true. And damn all those YouTubers for spreading around those pesky rumors. Aw, shucks. Those leaks were right. I hate the movie, and I hate the fans, and I hate the internet. And then you got all these people flying in hot, saying like, well, this wasn't the same for Endgame. Endgame didn't have spoilers. Yes, it did. Yes, it fucking did. I knew the whole movie going into it. That's what I do. I am an internet lurker, a dirty YouTuber, a nerd, a hardcore. I want to know it all. I knew the whole goddamn movie when it came to Avengers Endgame, and it didn't matter. The reason it blew up, the only reason that the leaks blew up this time and were created and used in a negative narrative is because of the state that the Star Wars fandom is in. There's no objective difference between the leaks for this movie and the leaks for other movies. It was the fact that people held it up and said this movie was going to be ass months ago and then just kept on it saying that it was ass. Now, look, did I play a role in that? Of course I did. Because when I originally talked about the leaks, I was like, look, I'm not crazy about this ending. But what did I always tell people? The leaks do not represent what you see in the movie. And honestly, internet fucking boomers. It's like, okay, boomer. That's what I want to say to all of these reviewers. It's like, okay, boomer. Literally. I feel like they all read the Reddit leaks. They couldn't believe that it actually would be real. They saw that it was real and they like exploded. They had like an internal explosion about it. Like, that's so fucking unfair. That's so unfair. Ridiculous. Because honestly, the leaks are just like little plot points. And you know what else too? Sorry, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But look, this is another thing that really, really upsets me about the critics. Did you guys hear all this crap about how there's just so much exposition? There's so much exposition. Like, it's just exposition city. You just get a bunch of exposition shoved down your throat. No, you fucking don't. I was looking for it, and to be honest with you, I was hopeful for it because I wanted the right kind of exposition. I wanted way more Palpatine. I'm sitting there in my head thinking, okay, Palpatine's going to literally be like, my boy, let us tell you the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. And then it's like, boo-doo-doo-boo, like some elevator music, and then he has like a PowerPoint, and fucking Palpatine is literally PowerPointing the history of the Force and the Jedi and all this shit. That's what I expected. That's literally what I got from the critics was like, there's so much exposition that you're going to need to take notes and shit. I'm like, I see no difference from any other Star Wars film as far as the exposition. Star Wars is space soap opera with space wizards. It's always had crazy exposition. Like, I'm really blown away. Like, I'm honestly blown away at the critics. What would you rank this? Obviously, you have only seen it once, but it would be cool to see you rank it, Logan says. I don't think like you kind of pointed out, I don't think I can rank it right now. I would say probably somewhere between a 7 and an 8, though. Like, somewhere between a 7 and an 8, and it really depends on my next couple of showings. Because my next couple of showings, like, that could jump to like an 8 into a 9, or it could dip. You know what I mean? I went in with two buddies. One was like a 6.5. One was an 8.5. But we all agreed that the critics' shit was ridiculous. That the Rotten Tomatoes score is so not indicative of what the movie is. But hey, I want to know. I want to see what other people say. You know what I mean? I definitely want to know what other people have to say. You know what I mean? I'm just espousing my opinion here. You know what I mean? I'm just giving you the goods from there. What does Anakin's voice say in the movie say? I believe it at least says you have to create balance, as I once did. And there might be another line that he says as well. The voice part was kind of confusing for me because there's just so many voices in there. It's kind of hard to catch, but I think Anakin may have had two. But honestly, like, look, I can, as a Star Wars fan, I can say I wanted Anakin in the film in the flesh. I'm disappointed that Anakin's not in the movie. I even wish they did his lines a little bit better. But my childhood is intact. This Hot Toys still exists. Revenge of the Sith still exists. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, can we grow the fuck up? That would be nice. And by the way, wrenches, you got to keep letting people know this is not for your kids. I am sorry. Okay? I am sorry, kids. I'm sorry. But I want to try to get some. I want to try to get some people that can't do super chats or whatever. So just put your questions in chat, guys. I'm gonna try to get into some of those. I just want to talk. I just want to see what's going on. I know there are people that aren't gonna like this film. I'm not telling you that if you don't like the film, you're wrong. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I hope people can understand that. That's not what I'm saying. But I just think that the film and Star Wars by itself has gotten so much ridiculous hate and all this stuff, and the ride up to this film has been so ridiculous, and the critics' reviews are so ridiculous. I'm from Australia. Like Tokafai says, I'm from Australia and seen it twice already. Loved it, but needed Force ghosts from all the Jedi talking to Rey. Thoughts? Yeah, it would have been awesome. Would have been awesome. Apparently, according to leaks, there were scenes they were potentially going to do that. They were potentially going to do the Force Ghost thing. Now, some people were suggesting that they didn't do that because of China. I don't think that's the case. They fiddled with this ending a lot with, like, fine-tuned stuff. And I think they just landed on the best way to do it would be to have her kind of reference the voices earlier in the film and then have the voices be a payoff or whatever. But I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to scroll up in chat, guys. I'm going to try to go over some questions for people that can't do super chats and all that. Let's see here. Brian Smith says, we're all going to have our own little nitpicky problems with this or that. Big deal. It was great. We're unfortunately in an area where hating something is more popular than enjoying it. Gonna have the Force Ghosts. Was that Wedge? That was totally Wedge, dude. Totally Wedge. And I don't know if he was the gunner in the Falcon or not. I thought he was just in a separate ship. But that was Dennis Lawson. What did you think about the Holdo maneuver comment? I loved it. But that's what I've been saying for 2 years to people. They're like, explain. I was like, they're like, the Holdo maneuver broke Star Wars. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, that was clearly, to me, it always seemed like that was a million in a one shot. Like, calculating, because, like, of just thinking about what it is to calculate a jump to light speed, that always seemed like it was a million in one shot, that Holdo maneuver. And so I have zero problem with that. And I don't even feel like it's, like, blatant. Like, I felt when I watch the reviews and I watch the people talk about it, I got this impression that that literally Luke Skywalker was going to come back in the flesh and be like super jacked and ripped and be like, that jackass you found on that island, that was Jake Skywalker. None of it was real. It was all Palpatine. And I was like, okay, yeah, then I think Last Jedi people have a right to be upset. I see nothing in this film that really and truly people that like The Last Jedi should be that upset about. But then again, I can see why there will be. I don't know. Do you think they revisit the Skywalker storyline? Pretty disappointed with the end to the Skywalker saga. Here's the thing. EBBE. How do I say this? I really feel as though either way with this trilogy, like we need new leadership at Lucasfilm. We need a new direction at Lucasfilm. And I'm not against going back to the Skywalkers eventually. I really do feel like there needs to be something that's basic. This ain't the end of the Skywalker saga. Like, it's just not. Like, I'm sorry. Disney, it's just not. Like, it's just not. And that's okay. That's okay. And so, will we revisit the Skywalkers? I think so. I think we eventually will revisit the Skywalkers. And even if we don't, that's still okay for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it other than I have already coped with that. Because frankly, I'm not trying to sit up here and tell you that Disney has done everything right. There's a lot of things that they have screwed up, and they just plainly need to do better. But I'm also trying to explain that, like, this movie is not as bad as people are saying it is. It's a very fun film. I can't wait to see it again. But that doesn't sort of excuse the fact that, like, yeah, they never should have called it the end of the Skywalker saga. Like, so it's like, I'm just trying to be real. Like, it's a good movie, but also definitely not the end of the Skywalker saga. And honestly, kind of how fucking dare they, right? Like, kind of how fucking dare they? But at this point, it's like, look, they're trying to just juggle all this shit. They just made this movie that literally feels like it was made for all the things I didn't like about The Last Jedi. It's like they went into my diary and they were like, oh, you know what? Josh, you've been really good this year for Christmas. We're going to retcon all the things you didn't like about The Last Jedi. We're going to give you optimistic Luke. The Holdo maneuver was 1 in a million. Just like on and on and on. Like all these little things. I feel like I was given a film by a studio that, at the very least, they are trying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not just gonna say like, they're all like torch it all, burn it all. Like they don't. I really do feel like they're trying. If anything, the film proves that they're trying. Whether or not they're successful, let's see. But my feeling is definitely not the end of the Skywalker saga. I roll to that. If I was Disney, I'd stop saying that shit now. Stop saying that now. And I'll forget that you said it. But that's just me. I can't say what other fans will do. But yeah, no. Let's see here. I'm a longtime Star Wars fan. My two biggest issues with the new films were Darth Vader's sacrifice is devalued, and there's not even one scene with Ford, Hamill, and Fisher together. Yeah, for sure. Look, Card Shop Reality, that's a perfectly fair and reasonable point. There definitely should have been more of those three together. I'll say this. The one thing that Rise really makes me feel is I wish Finn and Poe and Rey were together more. I really liked them in this movie. And I like the fact that they don't necessarily all get along. I like the dynamic where it's like Finn and Poe are bros. They have an awesome bromance. Obviously, Finn is a total fanboy for Rey, obsessed with Rey, probably in love with Rey. And like the Poe-Rey division, I liked. Like, I really liked it. It just felt real. It felt good to me. And it also kind of made me sad because I was like, this is really what The Last Jedi should have been, with more of them together. You know what I mean? Can we talk about how Ben Skywalker never got a final line? Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. I will say this, though. I loved Ben in this movie, and I love the depiction of Kylo. Kylo is, fucking powerful in this movie, dude. And the way he fights Rey and the way he walks around, his entire attitude has changed. His entire attitude has changed, and he's so sure of himself, and he literally does beat her. You know what I mean? Like, we were all like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen or whatever. Like, at that moment when Leia reaches out to him, she reaches out to him so that he doesn't kill her. And there's something kind of sexual about that fight too, and he's just like literally kind of pounding her. You know what I mean? And at the end with those crazy strokes, it's almost like phallic and it's like fucking sexual and it's crazy. And then he literally could have killed her. And there's mention earlier too where Rey says, "You could have killed me before," which was already in the novelizations, but everybody's like, "Oh, novelizations don't count." Well, now it's in the film, so shut up. And so I actually really liked Kylo in this film. He's totally put together. And when he turns and she hands him the saber, and the way homie, I'm sorry, like I just love that part at the end. I love that part at the end. Now, maybe wasted opportunity because, like, man, I would have loved to see those two together, like, forward. Like, the next film or, like, the next couple of films, I really do feel like that would have been pretty cool with them together. But either way, like, it's kind of cool. Rated R stream, guys. You know what? You guys are the best. You guys are the best. I got the best wrenches in the business. Those moderators. Yeah, stop saying it, like, right now. Like, but I'm being real, Jessica. Like, so how about this? Like, what if Bob Iger came out and was like, yeah, you know, I don't think this is actually the end of the Skywalker saga. I don't know if the Skywalker saga will ever end, but it's a good ending for the trilogy and trio of characters we've got right now. And his, like, total Disney voice, you know what I mean? Like, I like Bob Iger, but he's, like, literally, like... His voice sounds like a Disney character in some ways. You know what I mean? Cameron Craig says, "Stay awesome. I am starting the stream from the beginning. Thank you for keeping me entertained and informed." You know what? Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And this is such a weird... This is a weird video to make because, like I said, like my worst case scenario was, oh my God, I'm going to hate this movie and I'm going to roast it. Because, look, I still have plenty of problems with Lucasfilm and Disney. Like, I'm very frustrated. Guys, I was so hypercritical. If you've been watching the channel, you know this. I was freaking out about, like, the JJ interviews, talking about the leaked script, Kathy saying we don't have source material, like, all of it. It's, like, literally boneheaded thing after boneheaded thing. I'm like, can you just... shut up. Like, literally, the other day when she was talking about the story came out about her with trilogies, we're talking about it internally, right? We're all talking about it. And I'm like, yo, I really wish Kathy Kennedy would just shut up and let me think about Palpatine this week. Literally, that's where I was at with it. So it's like, don't get it twisted. I got a lot of problems with what is going on. But that doesn't mean that I got to take all that baggage and, like, dump it on this movie. And that's what I think is happening in a lot of ways. But thank you for saying I'm awesome. That's nice. Casey White says, "Is Ahsoka and Qui-Gon represented well in the film, or did Disney screw that up too?" Casey White. I don't know how to answer that. I actually think the Qui-Gon lines are cool. I think it's cool that Ahsoka's even in the film. I kind of get where they're going with that. It does sort of feel like just like almost like a Power Rangers kind of weird thing. Like, there's stuff about the ending that it's just weird. You know what I mean? But I get it. It doesn't break its own logic. It doesn't not make sense. It's not my favorite ending to a Star Wars movie ever. But, like, I'm sorry, like, Ben turning to the light, coming back for her, right? That the way they pass the saber, the way that they fight together when they come back in to face Palpatine, the fact that, like, I like the dyad, like, there's just a lot there that I like. The voice thing and it being all the Jedi and everything, not perfectly executed, but, you know, like, it's not terrible either. So let's see here. Ben felt at home with his family's saber. I loved it. I loved him in this movie. Can't wait for the novelization. Rachel, I can't wait for the novelization. The novelization is going to be amazing. And yeah, Ben is great in this film. I do wish we got more of him, though. You know what I mean? Like, I really do wish we got more of him. But he's really good in the film. Kylo's awesome, powerful, menacing. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. All right. Well, I'll scroll up a little bit. Chat's going a little wild. But, yeah, let's see what we got going on here. Do you think Ben should have been at the end with Luke and Leia? Absolutely. Like how Anakin was with Obi-Wan and Yoda. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't understand why he's not, to be honest with you. Like, I don't get it. I don't get that. Because he floats away, right? Like, all of them? Like, Vader floats away at the end? Yeah, that did kind of bug me. I gotta be real. I don't get it. You know what I mean? I don't get that exactly. But yeah. To answer your question, yes. Could you imagine another trilogy with Master Ray and the Night Sisters? I could, but I gotta be honest, man. I want them to literally just do something completely different. Like I said, like I've been talking about a lot. It's like the healing starts after this film, and like, look, you know, I'm critical of a lot of the negativity that's out there. I think the critics are full of shit. And I am critical of a lot of things out there, but I do ultimately acknowledge that this trilogy was a very poorly executed thing. Like, Disney did not nail this at all. And that basically we need new leadership, we need a new vision, and we need new Star Wars. And I think that Deborah Chow doing a movie would be great. I think there's a lot of ways they could still, and by the way, they're going to announce in January, apparently, they're going to announce the new director, the new direction, and all that. I think this film will still make a ton of money, and I think Kathy will probably just walk away in 2021 when her contract is up. Now, if the movie bombs real bad, maybe you see a shakeup sooner. Maybe Bob steps in and they actually do let Kathy go. I know for sure they're trying to avoid that. Which, by the way, if you're a person like me who thinks that Kathy does got to go, and you've been thinking that for a long time, and you're frustrated that Disney is protecting her, honestly, you have one person to blame, or one group to blame, and that's actually the Fandom Menace. Believe it or not, the Fandom Menace has been so ridiculous with their borderline trolling of Kathy, and they just literally, they say the worst things sometimes, that like Disney is now in a position where they like need to protect her from narrative. So it's like fucking crazy to me that the people that want her gone the most are probably the people that are keeping her in until 2021. That's my opinion. Yeah, but hey, that's just me. Let's see here. Yellow lightsaber, explain. I don't know where it comes from. You know what I mean? I do wish that we saw it get built, but like the yellow to me, and like the reason that I like yellow, is because it's kind of in between those other colors on the spectrum. In, you know, old expanded universe, yellow sabers would be indicative of certain personality type, certain type of Jedi that's really like more defensive, I feel. But I don't really know what the deal is with that. I think they were actually going for gold. What I've heard is in the script and things like that, it's referred to as a golden saber. No idea what that means. Yeah, it's like orangish. Yeah, the Jedi Sentinels, yeah. What's my opinion on Rose? I don't like her as a character. But I don't, like, she's not horrible, but yeah, I don't like her as a character. She's okay in this movie. I thought it was really interesting that there's that part where Finn essentially says, like, I'm going to sacrifice myself. And again, Rose, like, he just says, go, Rose. And you can kind of get this sense that, like, it's not a slap in the face to The Last Jedi, but it's like, it is a clear course correct from that. I was afraid to like this movie because of the Phantom Menace. Screw them. I loved it, and I'm not drinking the Star Wars Nazi Kool-Aid. Yeah, look, that's a thing. I don't like to generalize, and I don't like to like call people out and do all this sort of things. And there's plenty of awesome people in the Phantom Menace. I know that like people get crazy when I say that, but really it is. I've talked to a lot of those people in the past couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like with the Gray Order sort of being a thing, and we're pushing it forward, and a lot of the conversations that I've had, there are plenty of like just reasonable people in the Phantom Menace. And there's a ton of reasonable people that don't like The Last Jedi, that don't like where Star Wars is headed. And I think that's fine. But at the end of the day, like, we've created an environment where literally I felt like people in the movie were like looking around. They're like, is it okay to like this? Do we like this? Guys, do I hate this? Oh, are we hating this again? Or not? And there's a lot of that attitude out there, and it's like fucking sad, dude. Like, We're getting Star Wars movies again. You know what I mean? And yes, they should be better, but no, they're not ruining childhoods. I promise you, this movie convinced me of one thing for sure. The sequel trilogy will be beloved by a generation of people right now. And like in 10, 15, 20 years from now, the same thing that happened with the prequels is going to happen to the sequel trilogy. I wasn't sure about that until I saw this movie. Now I'm damn sure about it. People will love Rise of Skywalker just like I love Revenge of the Sith. Definitely both not perfect movies. Definitely not. Arguably not even good movies, you know, like as far as a movie is concerned. But awesome Star Wars. Awesome Star Wars. I promise you this is going to happen, man. Because this film does... I think it's great for these characters. I think the end for Rey and Kylo is good. I'm not super crazy about some of the things in the ending, but overall I think that the ending works pretty well for them. Let's see here. Thoughts on General Hux getting blown away like he did. I mean, look, my thing with Hux is like I was over Hux in The Last Jedi. Like that's one of the things that bothered me the most about that film was the way Ryan treated that character. Because he's like Hitler in the first movie and he's like Daffy Duck in the second movie. And I was just like, this character is a total cuck now. This is very stupid. No, Ryan. Like, that's one of the things I really don't like about that film. So I was over it. I don't give a shit about Hux, really. But I felt like General Pride was sort of like a really cool, menacing character. I'm glad he's in this movie. It's awesome that he's the one that kills Hux. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing... Like... The Hux scenes work for me, but like Hux didn't even need to be in this film. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, that's just my opinion, though. The movie won't bomb. It's gonna have better legs than The Last Jedi. Jesse, I don't know about that. My theater was way less empty, or way more empty than I wanted it to be. Josh, did you love when Rey called Leia Master? I didn't hate it, and I didn't love it. It was a weird thing where it's like, okay, I get that. I did like Leia in the movie, though. And I think it's honestly magical what they did with her. Like, literally. It's like legit magic. They wrote all these scenes around her, and you can tell they're not perfect, and there's some clunky stuff. And by the way, I think the only reason Harrison Ford came back was because Carrie was gone, and he needed to deliver that come to Jesus moment. And they couldn't figure out the come to Jesus moment with the scenes they had with Leia. Now, I'll be real with you. That Han Solo scene doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that Han Solo scene to me is so weird. And it's like an awkward moment in the movie. It's maybe the one time in the movie that they like really do lose me. But like, again, that's in all Star Wars movies. Like, that happened in Return of the Jedi. There's several parts in that movie that just take me out or that I sort of fast forward or kind of skip over in my mind. Even in Revenge of the Sith, there's a lot of stuff I love, and there's stuff I'm like, whoa, let's just get to the good stuff. You know what I mean? It's just a Star Wars thing, dude. Like, it's a Star Wars thing. You're not going to love every single second of every movie. In fact, maybe the only great Star Wars movie ever was Empire. The first Star Wars movie is good. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a total awesome complete package. It's a great movie that started this whole universe. But Empire's like a legit dope film. And I think there's one of the things that we get wrong with Star Wars. And like, this is the thing with the critics and everything. It's like there are people that just love these movies and they just want Star Wars movies to be amazing. And again, I think they should be better than they are. But like, that's not what the metric for what a Star Wars fan wants out of a movie and what a critic wants out of a Star Wars movie is totally different. And if you are one of those people that loves the prequels despite their flaws, like, dude, how can you not love a lot of the sequel trilogy? Like, that's just my opinion. Let's see here. Casey White says, how do we explain the prophecy of the one and the balance of the Force? Will Disney allow balance in the Force? Yeah, so I think that the way that it works in the balance is that, like, look, Anakin did fulfill the prophecy, and for a long time there was balance, basically. But it's kind of like, well, what did you think? That, like, Anakin, that was just going to be it forever? That Anakin was going to destroy the Sith forever? That evil would never come? It's fantasy. You know what I mean? When we see Sauron in The Lord of the Rings, in that trilogy, Sauron had already been around in the mythology of that world for a long, long time. In fact, he had done a ton of ridiculous things. A ton of ridiculous things, seemingly defeated. The way I think of the dark side, the way I think of the Sith, is a lot like Ganon or Ganondorf in Zelda. Of course, you've beaten Ganondorf before, but that's what Zelda is. So I think that, yes, the chosen one, that works. Like, the balance works. And there's just, now the balance is out. Now it's out of balance, right? And so it had to be sort of corrected. And that's the Jedi thing. The Jedi and the light side of the Force simply exist there to put it in balance. We've kind of already been told this. But yeah, like, as far as the balance, that's kind of my thoughts. I just want a good movie to watch and entertain me for a few hours. I'm not asking for much. Yeah, you're definitely not, man. Link wasn't a Mary Sue. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Look, the thing is, I will say this. They have treated Rey with kid gloves in this trilogy. And really, I think a lot of this is in Ryan's film. Like, I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, oh, it's all Ryan's fault. But kind of is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I like that movie. But it is kind of, a lot of the problems here are his fault. You know what I mean? And, like, you can make all these sort of judgments and blame whoever and all that stuff. But, like, Rey is treated with kid gloves. Except in this film. After the Sith lightning scene, that scene with her and Finn on the Falcon, yo, I had the feels, bro. Like, I legit felt her terror, her confusion, her angst. I felt it. I was like, wow. She looks like she's a wreck. Like, they really do a great job of putting Rey through the ringer in this film. And as I told you guys before, maybe these beats should have happened much sooner. I think that's fair. The beats should have happened sooner. But at the end of the day, like, I think she goes through it in this movie. And she does kind of end up alone on a desert planet. You know what I mean? So she doesn't necessarily come out with a big W.